Hey, so this is just a bit of an overview of what you get on your printout when you have your in-body scan. So obviously there's a lot of information on this page. You're going to get a printout of it. And it can be quite confusing to understand what everything is, but once you've done a few, and once you've been through this form a little bit, it does simplify it a little bit. And there's only really some major points that you want to take notice of. There is obviously tons of information on here, but I'll try and simplify it for you in this video. So when you do come for your assessment, you're not confused completely about what everything means, and you should really know where you should be about on this. Okay, so let's come to the top, the body composition analysis. So on this right hand side here, when we do the scan, we're going to type in your age and your gender. So this will give you an average of where you want to be in between for a healthy kind of average, male or female at that age in the UK. Okay. So this is actually John's scan. So it's come out extremely healthy, and I'll explain why in a minute. So if you look at the first one, it's total amount of water. So basically your hydration. Are you hydrated? So John should be around 44 to 54. He's actually 60. So John is, hyperhydrated. He's drank a lot of water, and you can tell straight away with this. So if you're kind of below this level, you need to up your water. So this is a really simple way to tell basically if you're drinking enough water or not. And we all know that the importance of water with fat loss. So proteins for building muscle. How much protein has John got in his body? Again, we want to be between 11.9 and 14.5. John's got 16.2. So again, John is quite muscular, and it shows that with he's got a good amount of protein in his diet, and this again shows. So if this was deficient, obviously we need to address how much protein you actually eat in your diet. So this will tell us this as well. Minerals. So basically, this is just kind of for strengthening your bones. Again, gives us a bit of a guideline. John's, again, well over it, so it shows that, the minerals in his nutrition is there, and kind of how the body is holding the minerals, it's there as well. So again, very good score for this one. Excess body fat. So again, between 9.4 and 18, John's actually 6.6. So again, this is a very healthy level. Even this is, remember, for an average person. John obviously trains and does lots of different sports. So this is more of an athletic kind of number that we're looking for again. But it doesn't mean it's unhealthy because it's below the lowest one. It's actually an extremely healthy body fat reading, and then obviously just the body weight there as well. So if you look at this, the muscle fat to fat analysis. So obviously we've got your weight, we've got your skeletal muscle mass, and we've got your body fat mass. The ranges of normal, again, this is for kind of a normal range, for a male age, whatever John's age was. And we can see here, it kind of shapes like a D. And this is a very healthy shape, which means his muscle mass is the highest, his body fat and his weight are lower than his muscle mass. So if you could imagine if this was a C shape, so your muscle mass is down here, your body fat is up here, and your weight's up here, that's a very unhealthy shape. You don't want the C's. If it was an I, let's say if they were all down bang in the middle of the normal range, that is generally a good, healthy, again, normal mid-range where you want to be. You're not more of an athletic physique, but you're definitely not overweight and carrying too much fat. So this kind of really gives us an indicator of where you're at. And obviously, if this fat mass is over here, again, I'm not worried too much about the weight, because obviously muscle does weigh more than fat, but obviously we don't want the weight too high. But it's more of the ratio and the shape of this what we're looking at. So if we look at the obesity analysis, again, BMI, I'm not a fan of, so I'm not really too fussed about the BMI. The only thing for BMI is like people getting into the police and things like that. They still use BMI now. I don't think they should, but they do. So BMI is on there anyway. Your body fat percentage. So again, this is really what we look at, and we actually measure a lot of stuff in body fat percentages. So John's is 7.4. So again, extremely healthy, extremely lean. Again, a very athletic kind of body fat percentage on here. So we know if this is over the normal range, if John was kind of over 20%, then the body fat is excessive, and it's not going to do your heart any favors, just generally the function of your body. So we can kind of see exactly what body fat is at. And if we do the analysis as we've asked you to do, so the 4 hours fasted, being stood up, and the temperature being regulated, so you're not just coming out of a freezing cold kind of outside straight into a warm room. We need your body kind of temperatures kind of to regulate a little bit before you get on the scales. Then it's going to give an extremely accurate reading for this. On this, actually on your form, you've actually got a picture of a body, but for some reason it's not scanned on here. But this is basically your left to right ratio of your right and left arm, right and left leg, and your trunk. The trunk does actually cover the bottom half of the shoulders and the top half of the glutes, so this is why there's quite a lot of weight in the trunk compared to what you actually think it would be. But the main things to look at here is, let's say if you look at this, the lean analysis side of it, there's a percentage number. Let's just take John's right arm. It's 135.7%. So that means that 100% there is enough muscle in the arm to make the arm function normally. So if there was, say, 90% muscle in the arm, we know that that arm doesn't have enough muscle to function with the weight of the arm. So basically, you've got way too much fat on your arm and not enough muscle. But John's obviously, again, the higher this percentage is, the healthier it is. John's 135.7%. So John's arm works extremely well and is very strong. We can tell this by looking at this number. If you notice here, the left to right ratio, the left arm has actually got slightly less muscle in it. It's got 0.04 kilos less muscle than the right arm, and maybe 1.1% less. If this percentage was over 4% difference, let's say if John's left arm was 130%, that's either got an injury or a very high risk of injury. So we can address literally injuries from your left to right analysis from this. It also highlights it over here as well, but I can literally see it from the forms. So again, we can look at this left leg. There's a bit more of a difference in his left leg, and John was actually, when we did this analysis, was saying, you know, his right leg is a lot more dominant than his left. So doing a little bit more single work on the left leg here is needed, just to bring the muscle mass up a little bit and to just bring the ratios up a little bit as well. This is the fat analysis. This is actually tells you exactly how much fat you've got on your left and right arm, your left and right leg, and in your trunk. John's only got 0.1 kilos of fat on his arm, so again, very lean, and it's a complete 50-50 split, so very healthy. He's actually got a little bit more fat. I mean, it's hardly, and it's not even 0.1 of a kilo, but very more. I mean, it's not even noticeable on the right leg. But again, that kind of happens anyway, especially when you know, it's 1 kilo and 1 kilo, so there's completely nothing to worry about. And then the fat on the midsection here, you want it to be, again, the lower the number, the less fat you've got in your trunk. So again, this is a great, you know, 63% is great. You know, you want it to be below 100, and then you're kind of not going far wrong then with it. This will also store your last eight assessments as well on here, so you can compare your muscle mass and your body fat percentage and your weight over this. So the top right hand score, this is a really interesting number here. So 95 out of 100. The 100 isn't the be all and end all of it. It's just a kind of a target to aim for. Anything over 85 is classed as, you know, reasonably healthy. If you're below 85, it needs a lot of work. You will get 1 point extra for every pound of lean muscle you put on. I think it's a pound or a kilo off the top of my head. I can't remember. It's one of them. And you will also gain a point for every pound or kilo you lose as well of the body fat. So obviously the leaner you are, the more muscle mass you have, the healthier this score will be. So I remember when I was having the train on these, the highest score they ever saw was 160 over 100, and that was by a kind of a Mr. Olympia type physique. Well, obviously we don't do that, and there's a lot of, I'm sure that guy's had a lot of chemical help, but we want it to be over 85. And again, kind of between 85 and 100 is extremely healthy, and that's kind of where we want to be. And also month-to-month analysis, let's say if John scores 95, next month is 96, we know that his lean mass has increased and his body fat has decreased, so it's a great indicator for him on this one. Nutrition evaluation. This will again just make sure that you're not deficient. It just highlights it, but I could pretty much tell straight away from looking at this. So John is deficient in body fat, but I wouldn't worry about that at all. It just means that he's a very athletic, lean person. So again, that's still fine. I would still personally class it as normal. Again, your BMI and your kind of obesity evaluation here, your body balance evaluation. So if there was a big difference between left to right and upper and lower, then it would highlight it here as well. But again, I would be able to notice it from looking at the percentages. Your waist to hip ratio. So this literally measures across the belly button level, your waist to hip ratio. So again, if this was very high, we would need to work on that area as well. And your visceral fat. This is an extremely important, you know, visceral fat is a killer basically. If it's anything kind of over, you know, over 6 and 7 is showing you your lifestyle is very bad. You know, too much alcohol. You know, not enough good healthy foods. So if you're kind of getting towards this mid-range, again, this is something we need to address. But it would be nice to see this drop. Let's say if you did come in at a 10, it would be nice to see it drop 9, 8, 7, 6 over the next, you know, few months with training and getting the nutrition bang on and just, you know, keeping an eye on the alcohol intake, etc., etc. This just gives you kind of, you know, your basal metabolic rate and, you know, recommended calorie allowance, things like that. So kind of this is more of an overview of everything that we've just done. And then if you're ever unsure about anything, if you actually scan this QR code with your phone, iPhones, you'll just hold the camera over it, obviously with the camera being on, and it will take you to their website where it will explain in more detail each section of these. This little piece at the bottom, you don't need to worry about this, but this, sometimes when you have the assessment done, it can, for whatever reason, it can be a little bit skewered. So let's say if your armpits were touching, or you'd ate way too much food, or you weren't holding the handles properly, or your feet were too cold. Basically, if the bottom number's higher than the top number, it showed that the electrical current didn't pass through the body correctly. So basically, this is just an indicator for the coach to see if the assessment was done successfully. If all the top numbers are higher than the lower number, then it did, which obviously on John's it did. So this is basically what you're going to get on your assessment, and then you're going to sit down with the coach, and he's going to highlight certain things that we can address either with training, either with exercise, kind of if it's an imbalance, if it's an injury, if it's something to do with visceral fat, whatever it is that we need to address with you, particularly individually, then we will address it. So it's an extremely accurate way to assess everything that's going on with your body, with your training, with your nutrition, with your lifestyle, and again, to have injury prevention, to make sure the body's working as well as it can possibly work. So we're really excited about delivering this through the Academy, and we hope that you will take as much out of this as possible, and to get even better results.